Okay, so continuing with this theme, with the orientations and world and so on, we will talk now about what are called work planes in some programs. But in general, I think it's mostly referred to as just like a custom orientation that you're using to work on. To work within, I should say. So with world, obviously you're aligned with the world. So everything's straight up and down and so on and so forth. When you go to local, now you can rotate something and you can follow its own orientation, right? So, but this still is somewhat limited. Most of the time you want a custom orientation to work with. I'm not going to go into all the reasons why you would right now, because it's just be too theoretical. But just for the sake of understanding how this works, there are times you want to have a custom angle from which to do all of your manipulating, your moving, your scaling, and your rotating, perhaps, depending on what you're doing. This is a big subject, but it's also going to open up another part of the interface that I haven't talked about yet, and that's this numeric panel over here. And the keyboard short to toggle it on and off is in. So that toggles the numeric key panel on and off. It's very similar to the channel box in Maya, but that similarity probably ends about right here. And then it's got a whole lot of other things mixed into this part of the interface, which I could imagine be fairly confusing. But think of it this way: it's a numeric panel. It's where you put numerical things into it to play around with and make adjustments on the interface. Think of it that way, just to be simple. All right, and the channel box here, this place where you can manually enter numbers in to change the positions, I'm not going to go into right now. So we're going to jump all the way to the bottom, and right here it says transform orientations. This is where you would make your work planes, or whatever you want to call them. So right now I have it set to local. As you can see, we have the same choices here as we did over here. Alright, and so let's change it back to global, and I'm going to cheat forward and use a shortcut to clear the rotations. That would be Alt-R. And then now let's just I'm going to hit the R key on the keyboard just to kind of rotate around a little bit. I will go over this stuff later, but for now, there you are. So now we have a sort of obscure sort of random rotation, and I want to take that random rotation and save it or create a work plane from that. And I'll come down here all the way to the bottom where it says transform orientations, and it says global there. Right to the right of that there's a plus key. Just hit that once, and now in this choice we have a new one called cube. So I'm going to select that. You can go back over here and find it here too. So these transform orientations, you can have custom ones, and you create those here. And this by itself obviously could be a whole other long discussion about how to use all this, but I'm just going to point out where it is and that I can create a new one. And so now that I have cube as my orientation, I can now move along the cube, which right now is the same as normal and also the same as local. However, if I also hit the camera, when I'm in local, the camera is moving this way, but now I want to change it to the cube's orientation there, and now as you can see I will be moving it along the same line as the cube. Cube goes that way, camera goes that way. They're both on a new plane of motion, and could be a plane of if you turn on the scaling, you could scale it on that plane, and if you have rotation and you want to rotate it on that plane, you can rotate it on that plane as well. Alright, so that's basically where it is on the interface. It's down here under transform orientations. Click the plus key, and now I have a new one. Go back over here. Oops. Do that again. Now I have the cube again, and there we go. It's got a new orientation.